This video will cover percent and problem solving, including interest problems. We're going to look at both simple interest and compound interest. So the first thing we want to look at is simple interest. So interest is going to be the money charged for using other people's money. So when you borrow money, you're going to pay interest. When you loan or invest money, you can earn interest. So the money that's borrowed, loaned, or invested is called the principal amount. Sometimes it's just going to be called the principal. Interest is normally stated in terms of a percent of the principal for a given period of time. The interest rate is the percent used in computing the interest. When the interest is computed on the original principal, it's called simple interest. So that's the first one we're going to look at is simple interest. So simple interest is found by taking the principal times the rate times the time. So I equals PRT. In this formula, the rate's going to be understood to be per year, and the time is going to be in years. So the rate is per year, and time is in years. So if either one of those things are not in years, we would just need to convert them before we plugged them into the formula. So let's look at an example. So this says find the simple interest when the principal is $2,600, the rate is 9%, and the time is 3.5 years. So our interest is principal times rate times time. So to find my interest, I'm going to take my principal, which is 2,600. I'm going to multiply that by my rate, and I'm always going to use a decimal version. So 0.09. My time is in years, so 3.5. Then I'm going to go to my calculator. I'm going to type all that in. And so I get $819 in interest. Okay. Example 2 says find the simple interest. So we're going to use that same formula. And this time it gives us my principal is $19.32. My rate is 8%. This time it gives me my time, but my time is in months. So I'm going to have to change that when I put that in my formula. So interest, principal, times rate, times time. So my principal is $19.32. My rate as a decimal, 0.08. If my time is in months, there's 12 months in a year. So if I wanted to make this in years, that would be 25 out of 12. So I'm going to put 25 out of 12 for my time. So then I would put that in my calculator, and that would give me an interest of $322. So both of those were just finding the interest amount. What if I wanted to find the total amount? So the total amount of a loan or an investment, that's how much you've either paid or you've gotten over the whole amount of time, can be found by taking the principal and adding that interest back to it. So for example, if a company borrows $38,000 for 2 years at a simple interest of 11.5% to buy carpeting, we want to find the total amount paid on the loan. So they borrowed $38,000, for 2 years, and the interest is 11.5%. So first thing I'm going to do is find my interest. So that's my principal times my rate times the time. If I put that in my calculator, I'm going to get 8,740. And that number represents the amount of interest. Then I want to find my total amount. So the total can be found by taking my original amount, which was $38,000, and I'm going to add in my interest. And when I do that, I get $46,740. The next type of interest we're going to look at is compound interest. So when you're looking at compound interest, that's computed on not only the principal, like we did with simple interest, but it's also computed on the interest that's already earned in previous compounding periods. When it's compounded annually, the interest is added to the principal at the end of each year, and that next year's interest is computed on the new amount. Let's look at some examples using this compound interest formula. So the formula we'll be using here uses this A value, which is going to represent our amount, our total amount. That's going to equal P, which represents the principal. So A is going to be our total amount in the account. P is going to be our principal. So that's always going to be our starting amount. R is still our interest rate. We're still writing that as a decimal. T is going to be our time, still in years. N is new. So N is going to be the number of times that it's compounded per year. And in this one, they're going to give you a word. So it'll say how many times it's compounded based on the term that they give you. So for example 4, it says that we have $1,000. We've got 4%, tells us that we're compounded annually, and then 17 years. So $1,000, that's my principal. 4%, that's my rate. Compounded annually, so that tells me about my N. And annually, something that happens annually is once a year. 17 years, that's my time. So time is 17, N is 1, R I'm going to write as a decimal, so 0.04, and P is 1,000. And now we have everything to substitute into our formula. So A equals P, which is 1,000, times 1 plus 0.04 over 1. I'm going to put 1 to the 17. Then I'm going to plug all that into my calculator. You can plug it all in at one time, or you can plug it in piece by piece. It's up to you. If you plug it in piece by piece, I would suggest plugging in this part first. So if you put that in your calculator, 1 plus 0.04 divided by 1, you should get 1.04. And then 1 times 17 is just 17. And then this part would be a whole lot easier to plug into your calculator now. And A would equal $1,947.90. Example 5. Again, we've got $14,000 at 4% compounded semi-annually for 6 years. So $14,000 is my p-value. That's what I'm starting with. 4% is my rate. Compounded means my n value. Semi-annually is going to happen twice a year, so that means my n is 2. 6 years, that's my time, so t is 6. And now I've got everything I need to plug into my formula. So A equals P, which is 14,000. Always going to be 1 plus R over N. And then my exponent's going to be N times T. And then we just clean this up. So, again, if you're going to put this in there piece by piece, I would put this in your calculator. So I'm going to bring down the 14,000. In my calculator, I would put 1 plus 0.04 divided by 2. And that's going to give me 1.02. 2 times 6 is 12. Then that's easier to put in your calculator, all of that. And that's going to give you $17,755.39. That's how much money you would have in the account. Next example says 1620, so $1,620 is compounded daily at a rate of 9% for 5 years. So this is going to be my amount, so that's my principal. When you see the word compounded, that means in. Something happens daily, that's 365 times a year. Rate, that's my R. And then time is 5. And now I have everything I need to plug in. So A equals my principal. It's always 1 plus my rate over my N, and then my N times the time. And we're going to clean this up. So we're going to take this inside, put that in our calculator. Be careful with the rounding. This one's going to give you a fairly large decimal. Don't round it. If you round that, it's going to mess your answer up. I'm going to put the whole thing. Okay. Then 365 times 5, 1825. Then I'm going to put that in my calculator, and I get $2,540.52.